I'm Jonathan Kavalier. I'm a supervisory horticulturist with Smithsonian Gardens. In the butterfly garden at the Smithsonian, we get regular visits from several dozen different types of butterflies. It'll vary from year to year depending on the populations, but this year we've been seeing a lot of monarch activity, we've been seeing a lot of skipper activity, as well as swallowtails, commas, buckeyes, and others. Some great tips for butterfly gardening in general are to plant a variety of nectar and host plants. Nectar plants being for the butterflies to feed on, and host plants being plants that the butterflies would lay eggs on and serve as a food source for the caterpillars. And one important fall tip would be, especially with your host plants, to allow them to stay in the garden over the winter and not to cut everything back. Because the butterflies will be laying eggs on those plants, you want to have some shelter and habit for the eggs to overwinter and the caterpillars to be able to hatch out in the spring. In the butterfly garden, we don't use any pesticides or herbicides because the butterflies and the bees that frequent the garden are very sensitive to these products. So we rely heavily on biological control. Mainly we observe the plants, and when we notice that pests are getting out of hand, we will release beneficial insects into the garden. We use a lot of ladybugs. We use some other specialized predators. There's a wasp, for example, that will parasitize aphids. But another point with pest control in the garden is it's important to know which insects are pests and which insects are not going to cause any damage before you go treating them. The milkweed bug that we've seen a lot of on the milkweed plants this summer is not really a pest insect and is not doing any damage, so we just let them be. I'd have to say I'm very partial to the monarch butterfly, which I know is an answer probably most people give, but I find it fascinating that this butterfly has a true migratory pattern and is able to travel all the way from Mexico up the northeast corridor of the U.S.